Hello there, we are your hosts Vivek and Pavitra from the Agile Coach podcast. In this podcast, we bring fresh perspectives to you through our interviews with thought leaders in Agile coaching, facilitation, business analysis, and product management roles. Enjoy.
So, Mikaylah, let's talk about the interviewing, the applying, working with recruiter, like that domain for somebody. Now somebody has some training in Scrum and Agile and Scrum Mastery. Now it's time for somebody to go into building the resume and their branding and their LinkedIn. How do you coach somebody through that process?
So that's a loaded question. So there are so many angles when it comes to applying. I have sat through many Scrum Master interviews myself, and I have been the interviewee and the interviewer. I think everyone can probably agree on the hardest part is how can I get my resume seen? How can I get through? How can I get through the algorithm? And, it is being very strategic with your interviewing, your applying strategies. But I think one of the biggest themes I would say is to master your resume. I've been in many interviews where one time I asked a Scrum Master what a Scrum Master does in the interview, he couldn't even respond back. I think a lot of times people think that becoming a Scrum Master is easy. I do coach. Anyone can do it, but you got to know what you're doing. If you're going to call yourself a master of anything, you better be a master of it. That's my biggest thing. And so I would say, when it comes to interviewing, especially, say you got your Scrum Master resume set, you're getting ready for your interview. I'd say the biggest thing is to know your story. Know that the first thing an interviewer is always going to ask you is, tell me about yourself. It's the easiest question, but have that planned out, prepare that, have it in front of you and leverage your resume to walk your interviewer through your story. That's what I coach my clients through, is understanding their story and not ever lying. You can embellish, you can, make something sound bigger, but never lie on your resume because that's cheap. A true Scrum Master where you're interviewing can see straight through that. I know you don't know what you're talking about, but if you want to beat imposter syndrome when it comes to interviewing, study, know your stuff. When I was applying, I was 5 years into my time as a professional Scrum Master, leading large enterprise teams. When I applied for my universal job, I studied. I knew I was going into a new industry. So I would go on podcasts. I would listen to interview questions, Agile marketing in general. I studied every possible question they could have asked me. I was prepared to answer. I had a written out response so I could go in with confidence and land it. I think that's the biggest thing I see, is that people just think if I'm interviewing, it's just me. I can wing it. Absolutely not. You'll be weeded out very fast.
Yeah. Mikaylah, let's kind of, take the customer-centric approach, right? So when a new candidate is going for an interview, round one interview, their customer is the recruiter, and they have a problem they're trying to solve. And, the team can also be thought of okay, they are the customer. So walk us through, what are they looking for, and what do new candidates who have not interviewed, what do they need to understand about a recruiter role and a dev manager or a hiring manager role for a Scrum Master?
It's a really good question. So the hiring manager will handle those, you basically will see them before they push you on. So you just want to, sometimes I tell my clients, land big words. Ask them who's working the dev team. Ask them the QA questions. What are you guys building? Sometimes I used to ask the recruiters questions I knew that they didn't have answers to, because what that drives them to is to say, I don't know that, but I can connect you to the person who does. Let me schedule the interview call with the recruiter. I did that a ton. I asked questions I knew they didn't know the answer to because I wanted to sound smart. We all want to sound smart. Yeah. So, I approach those interviews with, yes, the recruiters are important, but they're kind of there just to pre-screen you. Do you speak English? Are you in the demographics? Can you fit the pay range? Are you able to work remote or in person? They're asking you those, generic questions prior to whenever you are sitting face to face with a Scrum Master, a technical lead of any sorts. That's where, you'll want to ask a Scrum Master specific questions. What platform are you using? What's your team makeup? What are you guys building? What's your sprint cadence? How are you guys reporting? Who's reporting? Who comes to your end of sprint demos? Asking those key questions that will show that you are advanced and that you have done this done this before. That's what I coach my clients I coach them to ask those questions because a seasoned Scrum Master will say, oh, okay, she must know what she's doing, he or she, because those are actual working scenarios that you would do in any Scrum team. So those are, preparing, asking the right questions, and just making sure that you get through to that team interview, because ultimately they will say yes or no. And, I always remind my clients that be someone you want to work with.
Yeah.
How's your mic? Can they hear you?
Yeah.
How's your audio? Can they see you?
Yeah.
Be early. Do not be late. Have no typos in your resume. Make sure that you are prompt with your responses, that you know how to end your sentences by saying, that's how I would answer that question. Is there any other questions? Having your stuff prepared, like interviewing is a full-time job. The people who will get the job are people who can sell themselves that way.
Yeah. No, for the recruiters, so just to summarize, like their job is to fill that role for a team, right? So they get some requirements for the team that's building some sort of product. That team is asking recruiters to screen candidates. So you're saying that, get curious with the recruiters, ask them some questions, get your story straight, and help them get the answers, right? Like, can you do the job? Do you have some experience? Can you speak proper English? Do you have good personality? Like all that. And then you're saying that ask them a few questions. So you make them do some work and you come across a competent candidate because you're asking the right question. And then, so that's the thing with the recruiter. And once you go to the team, if you can paint a picture of like what kind of interviews are happening, one-on-one interviews, group interviews, who are in the interviews. So if you can give people the idea of an audience who's interviewing them, and what kind of questions do you ask as an interviewer? Because you've interviewed a lot of folks at Universal. So give us that.
So every company will be different, but from my experience, you're typically going to go through about 3 rounds of interviews. You're going to go you're going to hit the HR person. They're going to say yay or nay. They're going to then push you to usually a technical lead, or sometimes another Scrum Master as well to kind of vet you. That's where I will sometimes come in and be that second interview part. So again, you want to ask kind of all the same questions. And then that third set of interview will probably be with the team. That's anytime you hit to a team, you got to sell yourself, because then round 1 sold, round 2 sold, your third interview will be with the team. Common questions that we love to ask. I always ask in an interview, why did you become a Scrum Master? I always ask that question, or how did you become a Scrum Master? How did you find it? Generally, because I'm usually pretty curious. I ask them how they run their Scrum teams. What do that consist of? Roles, different types of Scrum Masters that we were hiring at Universal, because we work in Agile marketing. We are in the business of spinning up Scrum teams. So we need strong people who can coach. So I ask them, how do you describe what Agile and Scrum is to someone who's never heard it before? And I listen to their response. Is it confusing? Is it long-winded? Or is it from a textbook? If it's from a textbook, they don't know. Because a real Scrum Master will be able to kind of comprehend and be able to give a short example. And, sometimes they answered that question and I was confused. I don't know what Scrum is. So I asked those questions specifically to try to gauge their level of understanding. A lot of other questions that we'll ask is, tell me about a time that things didn't go as planned and how did you steer the ship back on course? We're looking, when we ask that question, we're looking for how fast can they pivot? How comfortable are they with driving the team back, back onto its course? That can be very difficult. Yeah. We're also looking for them to answer around, in the terms of retrospective, like, are they bringing, stuff happens, projects will fail, customers will reject it, but are they saying we are bringing things back to the retrospective and we're solutioning for it and making sure it doesn't happen again? So I'm looking for those key things. I know the Scrum process, when things go bad, you better be talking about it in your retrospective. So I look for them to say those types of things. We ask them to describe their leadership style. So, with a leadership style, it's not just, and I look for people who don't say servant leadership. If you Google the first word, you'll see servant leadership. It's kind of a cop out. No, really, what is your leadership style? Are you in the weeds? Are you, high level? Are you personal with the team? Are you joining every meeting? Are you kind of letting them fly? Like, there's really no wrong answer, but we ask them, can they describe themselves in that way? We ask them, to tell us. I always ask them about like their history in running Scrum teams. So, I'll ask 360 questions to, the questions that I prefer my students to answer. You basically, you want to walk them through your 5 Scrum ceremonies and your outputs and how you let them.
Yeah, Mikaylah, one specific question that I'm interested in, since you are in the hiring team right now for Scrum Master, and you also can really empathize with people who are going to Scrum Master role for the first time because you also coach them, some of them, right? So let's say you're given a task of screening some Scrum Master candidate, and in your company they've said, hey, like, we're okay if somebody doesn't have a lot of experience. We're willing to kind of bring them on if they have the right, X, Y, Z, right? So knowing that, this is somebody a little bit on the greener side, what would you ask them, and what are you trying to like make sure that they have for more of an entry level?
They have to have a good personality.
Yeah.
Personality is everything. Can they jive with the team? Are they personable with us? Are they asking good questions? Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, technical skills can be taught. Personality usually can't. Yeah. I'm looking for someone who, when they join the team, they're bringing energy, they're bringing a drive to work every single day, and they're bringing a good attitude. No one wants to work with the Debbie Downer who's just, this is just work. You're not going to get the job. If you're going for a job, love what you do. You're going to be with the team. You want to enjoy your every single day. So, within the first 5 minutes, I can jive with this person or I can't. Yeah. So if you're just like monotone, bland, but you're like, I'm nailing the technical questions, like, we're probably not going to hire you, because I want to work with people who are exciting and fun to work with every single day. Nice.
So you're looking for somebody who's actually into the Agile mindset and Scrum and has some energy and enthusiasm behind it.
Yes.
And it speaks when they are chatting with you, like it kind of shows in their face. Okay. Got you. My other question was, like that tell me about yourself question. I'm just curious, like if you could go back and let's say I am interviewing you and you're not a Scrum, you have done some internship work, but you're really positioning yourself for a Scrum Master. And I ask you as an interviewer, trying to vet if I should bring you in front of the team and ask you, tell me about yourself. Like, what would that sound like? Because, if you can model that for the folks.
So I would tell them a little about like my hobbies. I have a dog. And then so I started my universal interviews like that. I have a dog named Timmy. I think I started with that. And what that spurred, my now boss, she goes, oh my gosh, I think everyone on the team has a golden doodle. I kind of started with something non-personal. She literally said that. I was like, oh, check. So I started with that. Like, I was like, I love hanging out with my friends, and, I'm very passionate about this field. I'm passionate. I was interviewing with all women. So I talked about, how I was very passionate about being a woman in the field of technology. I believe in women in tech. I know that I've had to work very hard in my life. And so, I kind of dove into a little bit about that. Right. So what I'm doing is I'm listening to the questions that they're asking and I'm trying to build a personal connection with them. I want them to be like, ooh, she, whether it's pointing out something on the wall or it is, sometimes I will go through every single one of my interviewers' LinkedIn profiles. I'll take notes on them. Okay, so this person went to UCF. This person was a Delta Kappa. This person played volleyball. I'm kind of like not lying about myself, but I'm prepping myself for the interview. I know who I'm interviewing with. Let's just say that. And
you're saying, Mikaylah,
to them.
That question, tell me about yourself question, is not a tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself that I might be interested in as a recruiter. So that's how you're answering.
Yes. I want them to be like, wow, she could be my best friend and I'm going to hire her. I could be whoever you need me to be.
This is actually, that makes sense because tell me about yourself. I mean, you could tell, if I was interviewing, I could tell you a lot of things, but really you're saying that tell them about yourself that they might be like, oh, wow, this is a person that we like. So be very intentional. I love that.
They want, listen, at the end of the day, you want to work with someone who you want to work with, someone who's a fun person to be in the other edge of the call, or you can go do stuff with. And so I was like, I will do that for you. Whatever you need, I'll be. Yeah.
And I really like where you shared kind of what you're looking for. And you're also kind of thinking about the team, the value that they bring in. And just for the audience, not everybody is extroverted like us. Let's say if there's a little bit more introverted Scrum Master, they might be looking for something a little bit different. If they're vetting.
One thing I love to remind my students is that a Scrum Master is not the end all be all. There are so many non-technical roles on a tech team or in a software company that may apply to them. So I always say, like, if Scrum Master, if you're just like, I just am not that type of person, like I can't command a room, like there's business analysts who their sole job is to go out and collect and write requirements down and document it. There are so many different types of roles. If they're like, I don't want to do process, I want to do strategy or prioritization, like go look into product ownership. Like developers is just, I used to think that's all that was in a tech company until I joined a tech company. There are so many roles on a team that support the development team, that help them every single day, that are non-technical roles that anyone can explore and anyone can do. So, if you're like, I can't do that, do your research. There are a lot of, you can find a home someplace in that team by doing that research.
Yeah, 100%. And Mikaylah, one thing I want to, help the folks who are watching this is like, whenever we're just saying that you want to show up with energy and curiosity. It's if you're a new Scrum Master, if you want to go break into the field, right? I've worked with a lot of introverted Scrum Master. They're amazing. They have other talent. Just keep in mind is like, it really helps if you can show the passion, if you can lead and facilitate while even in the interview, right? We're not saying everybody needs to come up with a lot of energy. Not everybody has that. But it really helps if somebody's trying to like land that interview or make an impression. And for the introverts, folks who aren't high energy, for an hour, you can show up with, a little bit of smile, a little bit of hand expression, right? Showing relevant things that you're curious about or why you care about this field.
Even if you're not curious, fake it. If you're having the worst day of your life, fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Show up for your team. Like there have been many times I'll ask a question that I may not be interested in knowing the answer to, but I know that that's what they they need to talk through it. I may not have any value to give, but it could help them just talk through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just become who your team needs you to be.
Lovely. What else are aspiring Scrum Master missing to see when it comes to interviewing and landing a role and getting a job? Like what else do you see folks are missing?
I see a lot of the time folks are kind of missing it varies, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to, you can get the role, but you got to keep the role, right? So I am a big advocate of never stop learning, so, just because you got it, you need to like work every single day in remembrance that there is someone ready to take your role. So if you're not showing up with your best self every single day, you will get replaced. There are thousands of people who want to take my job at Universal. I remind myself of that every single day. I am replaceable. A lot of the times people think that when they are hired, that like they're the ish. You're never tomorrow is never promised at a job. And so I think that is the biggest mentality to know. And that sense to everything, know your stuff, be prepared. If you have a work phone, always have your work phone on you. Can you access all of your documents at one time? I very much hate to say, but when I'm driving into work, I will get pings from my boss for different things. I can pull over and send her everything she needs in 5 minutes because I'm organized. Anytime, at any point, someone can message me and ask me for a question and I can figure out where it is. So I'm always prepared for anyone to catch me off guard because I know that, my job's not promised.
1,000 people wanting your job at Universal.
Probably. I've seen the queues. It's a lot. I got to make sure I show up my best self every single day and I'm providing value every single day or I can be out.
You seem very passionate about your role. Like, what do you love about being a Scrum Master? Coming from, that meeting in the cafe, saying that, hey, the next person I meet, I'm going to say I'm a technical project manager. And now you're a very successful, not just a Scrum Master, but you're also coaching and interviewing other Scrum Masters, right? Like, what do you love about this role or this track that you've taken?
I love solving problems. I love looking at something and it not making sense, and I love chewing through it. I get to do that a lot in my job. I get to look at solutions and think, how can I fit this into a Scrum model? Because in marketing, nothing fits into a Scrum model. We have legal and all that stuff, So I love solutioning and thinking through things. I love a strong team environment. I love being a part of the team. I get energy from my teammates. I love being the person that people come to with questions. My natural self, I've always been a problem fixer. And so I love that as a Scrum Master, I get to do a lot of problem fixing. Bring it to me. Nice. Bring it to me. I'm kind of a control freak. All good Scrum Masters are. Don't touch my team. Don't come at my people. I will protect them. I'm very protective, very control freakish. But that's kind of the personality that you need to have as a Scrum Master. You kind of need to be a little bit on the edge with like, don't come near this. I know this is right. Yeah. Every Scrum Master will be like, I can relate to you on that. It's funny when you get on a team of Scrum Masters, if you ever meet them, you'll be like, oh my God, you're kind of the same person as me. And I feel very seen right now. Yeah. So I think it's just identifying, what do you as a person love to do? I love to coach and teach. My passion is coaching and teaching through effective communication. I get to do that every single day. I coach and teach my team. So it's figuring out what is your passion and then chasing after that. And that's what I did. And that's why I love being a Scrum Master.
Nice. Mikaylah, so you are in a very you're in Agile marketing. So what is Agile marketing and how are you using Scrum? Because this is a little bit different than traditional product development process. So give us, what is Agile marketing?
So Agile marketing can be encompassed by a lot of different things, but I run marketing operational teams. So, there are multiple branches of marketing. There are strategic marketing. There are, new feature campaign launches. There are so many things that fall under the branch of marketing. But then there's this part of, okay, we know what we're going to do. We have the strategy. You need a team to execute it. So that is putting work onto the websites. That is putting work up into the parks. That is updating your wait time queues, your hours, your text updates, different things like that. Anything that the guest sees, that's marketing operational, right? So, within any marketing company, you could have campaign teams, that's basically just executing on the work. So a Scrum team will come at the end of that process. They're doing strategy, They're planning campaigns. Are we launching a new restaurant? That's a marketing thing. But within that, there's technology that has to go out. There's into the applications, onto the websites, in front signage and everything. Typically, a Scrum team in the world of marketing will be an execution team to get something out fast. Scrum teams are execution teams. We're never really building, testing, or doing anything, putting it on the shelf. We're usually pushing it straight out to the customer. So in my sense, being in the digital technology department, that area, so we're really focused on launching batches of work out to the customers from our marketing partners.
Wow. Okay. So let's say, you shared with me there's a new park opening in Austin, right? So let's take that example. So you've got that park that's opening. There are obviously people who know about Universal. You have a product backlog items of like, okay, we need to create a campaign. The campaign, you break it down into different marketing tasks, and you have different folks working on it. So you're planning your sprint in terms of, okay, these are the different activities we need to do. And then you're reviewing that on a daily basis and removing impediments. Is that, am I thinking that correctly?
It's the same thing. I say, with my moms who want to run their house like a Scrum team, right? You're just taking what's my initiative? What am I doing? Am I launching a campaign? Am I supporting a campaign? Am I launching tech website updates? What am I doing? And then we're breaking that up into projects, and they're breaking that up into tasks. And then we're saying, out of these 10 tasks, 5 will go in this sprint. The next 5 will go in the next sprint. So it's really just breaking up whatever large piece of work you're doing into small, tangible pieces, iterating on it, getting it done, shipping it out. And so we approach that same methodology when it comes to the world of marketing. We are saying, what is the what, and how are we going to do it? How can we break this up? How can we deliver this fast? Doesn't work often in the world of marketing. Marketing is a tough one because there's a whole lot of compliance and stakeholder reviews and all these different things that come into that. And so it's figuring out how you make that work into your process. And ultimately, how can you keep pushing work out on time?
Nice. Going back to the interviewing and working maybe in your first team, what are some words to avoid if somebody's a new Scrum Master? What have you learned, or if you can share some of those things to like not bring up, and maybe why?
Okay, so my favorite thing to say, it's funny. My husband's actually a product manager, a product owner too. So he told me that rubs me the wrong way. Never say I'm here to support you. You'll see that language a lot in Scrum classes to be like, oh, the Scrum Master supports this. It's a trigger word for people when they're on the receiving end, because when you're supporting someone, it kind of puts that person in a role of leadership, and you're like their subordinate, if that makes sense. Like an assistant will support their manager, and an intern will support their boss. So when you're saying, I'm going to support you as a Scrum Master, you're putting yourself in that lesser position, and it's devaluing you a little bit, because then the other person is like, well, do I need to give you work? Am I giving you work? And it's also showing you might not have work yourself. A Scrum Master will never be placed on a team with someone telling them what to do. You as a Scrum Master dictate what you do. You should be doing metrics. You should be building your team's instance on a platform. Like, we should know what our role is. And so obviously, yes, we support the product owner in all these different sessions, but like, it is a partnership. It's not I report to you and vice versa. It is, I always say, instead of saying, I'm here to support you, say, what do you need? What do you need? Can I help you? What do you need? Okay, I got that. Talk in the sense of you're a partnership. You're not looking up to them, supporting them like this, because it will rub them the wrong way. And it's devaluing you as in your role ultimately. So I'd say, do not say that. You'll see that on a lot of Google Things classes. Just use the word, I'm here to help.
Nice. Another question. This is actually a question that a lot of folks who listen to the podcast who are not in the field ask. Do you need a college degree to become a Scrum Master?
So that's a great question. I'd say no. You need a certification. Typically, you don't really need anything. You got to know how to be a Scrum Master. Certifications teach you so you can know. I would say in our world right now, having a college degree, whether you believe in its value or not, is still something that's weighed against another person. So if you're in an interview line in a docket and a hiring agent is looking at everyone's resumes in a row, 3 people have college resumes, the 4th person doesn't, you might get tossed out because you don't have it. It's really, do I use anything from my time in college? No. Literally, I don't even remember what I did in college. But it's basically just saying that you can do hard things, that you can work to get it done. It is unfortunately a passageway in America is getting your college degree. And, even when I got my job at Universal, my college degree was verified. I couldn't fake it. They called my school and they verified my graduation. And so if you ever, I'd say if you don't have it, places to look would be startups, consulting roles, any place where you can kind of be like, oh, they don't care. Because I know my stuff. Like if you're consulting as a Scrum Master, you won't need to give them personal information on your background. If you're on Upwork or AngelList.co and you're searching for projects, that's the route I would send someone without a college degree. Or I'd send them down the route of finding startups where, they're very lean, they're very brand new, where they don't care. Like they don't care your background. They care about can you do it? If you want to work in large corporations like Disney, Universal, big networks, they're going to want to see a college degree on your resume. And that's just kind of how like the cookie crumbles. And if you want to be competitive in that process, that will more than likely be a requirement.
Yeah. So somebody doesn't have a college degree. Like you said, there are a lot of companies, these big brands, they are not quite accepting candidates without a college degree, but there's a lot of them. They actually do. There's startups, there's consulting companies. So I come to you, I don't have a college degree. How would you coach me? What do I need to do to become a Scrum Master? And I'm really passionate about it.
So I would first send you off to get your Scrum certification. Getting your Scrum certification is kind of just the rite of passage. That's going to teach you a lot of high level theory on it. I would then send you to to find a course where you can learn practical skills, right? I think that's how we met. I was sending people to your course because I went through your curriculum and I was like, okay, they're teaching metrics. They're teaching scheduling meetings. They're teaching kind of lead meetings. Those are kind of like the day-to-day things that you do as a Scrum Master. So, I would send them to a course where, they're going to have to get their theory based, understand it, but then they're also going to have to take courses on, the day-to-day tangible things, actually how we do the work, because those are 2 very separate pieces of the theory and the doing. So I, typically my path is I send them off to the Scrum Alliance to go get their certification. I would recommend the Agile Fundamentals course from the Agile Coach. I take them there because I think that teaches them a lot of good, tangible things. I would then, I tell them to listen to podcasts on Scrum. I go, you can learn the knowledge, but can you speak on the knowledge? And can you speak on it casually? If it sounds like a robot, I'm going to say you don't really know what you're talking about. Can you speak to it casually? So I encourage my clients to listen to Scrum Master podcasts, interview questions, just constant language so you can kind of pick up a casual tech talk. You want to learn that language of the industry that you are applying to. So really immersing yourself into that world. When I was applying for my marketing job as a Scrum Master, I was listening to marketing podcasts. How do they talk? I was coming from a very robotic tech industry where everything is like this. And I was like, I want to fit in there. So I need to talk their talk. And so I'd send them down that route. I would then send them down the routes of consulting. I'd give them websites like Upwork and AngelList.co, which is now, I believe the new name is like Newly Found or something like that. Those are AngelList.co. It's called Well Found. That is a website geared towards startups. So I would send them, go make a profile on there, just like your LinkedIn, and go apply for jobs. Put your resume on there, make sure your resume is put together. That's what I coach my clients do first. They don't ever apply for a job on a resume that I don't first vet. And I vet it my way. Don't vet it their way. I have a very strategic process when it comes to going through resumes. I send them down to specific websites that are geared towards tech startups. I send them down that route. And then I send them down the route of consulting. There are a lot of companies where they will pick you up as a Scrum consultant. They will, whether that's recruiting companies, a lot of companies will hire Scrum Masters as consultants to push projects through the 6-month to 1-year mark. So a website I love to use is called Upwork. So they would then create a profile on Upwork and apply to one-off Scrum Master jobs, which are basically geared towards startups who are looking, who can't afford a advanced Scrum Master. Advanced Scrum Masters are looking for W-9 work. Yeah. We're looking for full-time work, full-time benefits. Small startup companies, they're like, can I just pay you and can you pay your own healthcare? Can you pay your own stuff? You want to look for jobs like that where they're kind of just like very lean, very new. They won't really care about your background if you know what you're doing. So I, again, emphasize, if you don't have a college degree, even if you do have your college degree, know your stuff, study, come ready to work, and you will get offered a job and you'll be able to keep that job.
Yeah, I actually didn't know about the Upwork. So there's just like a lot of the part-time contract work that they want to hire Scrum Master. And then that's where you send folks just to kind of get some experience and use that experience to get more of a corporate Scrum Master role.
I don't send them to LinkedIn or any of those big major websites. I send them to the small, nimble websites.
Got you. Awesome. Mikaylah, this was an amazing conversation with you. I learned a lot about your ways. So thank you so much for sharing all the stories and lessons. With that, we're going to wrap this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, and I look forward to doing this again.
All right, that's a wrap with this episode. Thank you for listening till the end. We hope these podcasts are providing value on your Agile journey. If you haven't visited our website, theagilecoach.com, we highly suggest you for other courses and supporting material on your journey. You can also get access to our self-paced courses or learn more about the live training that we provide to become a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager. With that, we will see you on the next episode. Love and best wishes from the Agile Coach.